Let me tell you about a time that we built a tree so realistic that the moment we installed it, a woodpecker came and broke their beak right on it. And for that story, we're gonna have to take you all the way to Fort Edmonton out in Alberta. Welcome everybody to the channel. We are heading to Alberta for this beautiful, incredible project where we built part of the Indigenous Center at Fort Edmonton. And what an incredible project. I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. Fort Edmonton. So what an incredible spot and place and honor to build. When we got to site, the place was beautiful. This was the first chance I ever got to drive across Canada. So what an adventure that I got to actually have right from the beginning. I brought my wife with me because I was going to be away for a long period of time. It just happened to work out that she was able to come with me. We camped along the way, which was such a wonderful experience. We saw beautiful waterfalls and we did hikes along the way. We still made it in record time. Now, let me take the time to show off some of the awesome projects we worked on here at the Indigenous Center, Fort Edmonton Park, Alberta. So for the traditional round full trees, what we did was we made it look like they were limbed. There was a number of species picked. I think we had poplar, we had red pine, and a white pine. And what we did was we used the stamps from the real trees themselves. We actually wrapped pipe with lath, and we sprayed them with fiber coat. We sprayed them with finish coat, and as a team, we stamped them all over. And then it took 3 of us non-stop to carve the lettering in. We used a projector to actually project the cool graphics so that it would be just the same. And we used a stencil on top of that to make sure that we got everything just right. Some of the difficulty of these outdoor trees, putting them in place, was the fact that we 100% needed a machine and 100% were not allowed to drive on any of the poured concrete. This was a finished area in their mind, and they did not want any scuffs, any damage. So we had to be really careful on every single part of this. I'm not gonna lie, we came very close to the edge a number of times and we were maxed out on all the equipment that we could get. When we're painting, it's a really high detail thing, especially in a space that you're getting up so close to the work. And if you've ever gone to a poplar or red pine or any of these other trees, most people think of a tree trunk as just brown. That's not the case. If you actually go in, there's dozens of shades, usually 5 or 6 different colors that you can pull out, and then multiple shades, each and every one of those colors. So it takes a lot of work to get it right, especially if we're looking for museum quality. And we are always looking for museum quality. So I want to tell you a little bit about the process for the Rockscapes. So one, we did pre-build a few of these pieces out of panel, creating the highest quality rock work that you could possibly get. Here's what an ideal connection is. We have plenty of surface area for the anchor, and we are straight up and down, stripping in the load straight to the ground. And we have a nice clean ability to weld everywhere. So we'll start the weld down below and go from there. On site, we did have to customize a few things, and what we did was we used our traditional rebar cages. Okay, so one of the things that I want to talk about is how we actually build some of these armatures. So when we're talking rebar cages, like the one right behind me and the one on this job at Fort Edmonton, what we're doing is actually using these pieces. We call them rebar benders, what we've made ourselves over the years. This is made out of 1x1 hollow stock, and then we actually added bolts to the top, and we have literally bent millions of linear feet over the last 4 decades. On this project, what we did was to form to the actual drawings that were given to us. Every piece was hand bent on site so that we could actually match exactly what the drawing said. Everything was very, very particular. A lot of the times we're given an extensive amount of creative freedom, It allows us to create the various shapes to become the most realistic we believe is physically possible. And then on some jobs, particularly most of the museum jobs, every last detail has been thought out for a really long time, sometimes for years in advance, where they need the exact distances. They have artifacts that are going into it like this. And so the actual spacing and sizing and shapes are very, very important. So big part of the job is making sure that we can adapt to the vision of the designer and the client themselves. Once we've actually built the armature out of structural steel and rebar, we then have to tie every single piece of lath to the rebar. This is not an easy task. It's actually one of the most time-consuming parts of the whole job, as you're manually twisting every single one of them. If I could figure out a way to change this or do another way, I absolutely would. And if you've ever thought of something yourself, leave it in the comments below, because I would love to. I've tried hog tie guns, I've tried automatic rebar tying guns, tried it all, but I have not found a successful way that's faster or better than hand tying yet. And hand tying is extremely slow. As we finish that gives us essentially a back form for our fiber coat. Our fiber coat is specially formulated that we actually did ourselves. My father created this formula almost 4 decades ago. We were about 2 years old when he created that. And what he did was he went and worked with the University of Waterloo to make sure that we had the strongest, most durable product out there. And we use a polypropylene fiber called polymesh that we create ourselves, and then we mix that into our pre-bag mix, and then we spread it. On this particular job, we actually had to spread manually. Typically, or in best case scenario, we actually shoot it on. But in this case, because of all the finished things around it, we could not take the chance of any type of mess or destruction, especially around some of these artifacts. After that, finish coat, so important. Potentially the most important part of this entire thing, because if you nail the shape and you make sure that it's structurally strong, fantastic. But if you mess up on your final finish, then it was all for nothing. So we actually take molds from real rock and real trees to apply all the different things that we need. We have a huge shop dedicated to the storage of these molds. We've spent years cultivating our library so that we can always have the right piece on hand. So the way that this started was this whole beautiful space was already laid out for us. And what we were to do was to create the summer, spring, fall, and winter rock formations that were in seating or meant to hold displays for various artifacts. And the whole point of this space was to tell a story as you come through the entrance. You go through these beautiful rockscapes, there's graphics all over the walls, there's beautiful light displays and projections. These help bring the space alive so you can interact. You have to go around the rocks. We also helped with the teepees, not building the teepees themselves, but to create the initial stonework around the edge of those teepees. And then another part was that we got to actually work in the log house when we built this beautiful fireplace. And the cool part about the fireplace is that they do this big, thick white plaster finish. Initially, we were told riverstone, so we built these beautiful riverstone pieces. We painted them all to be perfect riverstone, and then we slathered big, thick white paint to match the building that was actually somewhere else in Fort Edmonton. I'm going to talk a little bit about the process for building these trees. So there was a couple different methodologies for these trees, which was really fun to do. One, I actually cut a tree down in our property. It was the very first social media viral video we ever did on TikTok. We pre-built quite a few of these trees. We had over 60 trees that were either live edge form or stump form, or any type of form that were put within, so we can get a head start, because we did initially have a tight timeline. One of the most important parts of any project is the quality of work. And so when we take molds of the real trees and the real rock, it allows us to ensure that quality level, consistency, and adapting to all the different shapes and sizes in the most realistic form possible. Now what we did was we pre-painted and pre-built as many as we possibly could, put them on a giant 53-foot trailer and shipped them right on out. On top of that, we packed our mighty little trailer and drove across the country. Because there were so many live edge signs, we didn't want them to all look alike. What we did was we actually made it too long, so it required about a 6-foot section, and we made a 9-foot mold, and then I picked various parts so that there would always be a different spot when we were creating the signage. The cool part was that there was small metal caps at the bottom. They sat on these piers. Once we installed those, everything went very, very smoothly, and they were able to actually add their metal signage on top. I think it made for a wonderful spot, and I know for a fact that we're going to use similar signage around our Aquahaven shop space, and then I'm sure parks and places are going to pick up this because it's such a cool design. I loved every part of this project. I love getting to go to Alberta. It's tough to say because I love every province I've ever visited, and we've worked in so many. But Alberta, if I could actually move to one place, this would be the spot. During the weekends, we went to Banff. During the Thanksgiving weekend, my wife and I actually spent the whole weekend in Jasper, which was just such an incredible spot to visit. A big shout out to our team. When we were building in shop, we actually had my friend Donna come help, my cousin Laura come help paint, and then we had Fergus, Slater, and Martin head up the team as they came all the way to Alberta with us. We lived in one big Airbnb all together, and we had such a wonderful time getting to experience the place, the work, meeting the people on site, and really working hard and working together with the amazing team from Cubic who headed up the project as a whole. I hope you enjoy this one. Like and subscribe. We have an incredible project for you next week.